Hi, my name is McBurney. I'm the IT manager and Microsoft certified trainer at New Horizons based in Belfast in Northern Ireland. My primary job responsibilities would be charged with the building and maintenance of the internal infrastructure, application deployment, and just everyday, day-to-day infrastructure.
And what size is your environment like?
The environment at the minute, we're running with 50 PCs and 12 virtualized servers.
You just have this site here, or is there other sites?
Yeah, at the moment there's only one location, which is in Belfast here.
And what was the initial motivation for you in this
The initial motivation for working with this project was as Windows Vista Service Pack 1 was coming out. We had originally tested with the RTM version, no service pack of Vista. It was a bit sluggish, so what we did was we kept all the PCs on Windows XP. But now with Service Pack 1 coming out, I had retested it again. Everything seemed to be comparable to Windows XP. So I needed a deployment mechanism for pushing Vista out. We were using Ghost Solutions Suite for pushing out the XP images. They were at that moment they were fat images, so all the applications were installed. They were roughly about 12 gigabytes. And now with Vista, we have the WIM imaging. We're rolling out thin clients and then pushing out the packages, the installation packages onto the thin client. Where the initial concept for the program came was from a TechNet conference that I had attended, where I'd seen SCCM being used for the deployment of Vista and for Office 2007. So that really got the initial curiosity sparked there. Then I went back into the virtual labs that I had in the offices. Started using SCCM, getting the installations right, building the servers, and then deploying it from there. So we were looking at, really what I was looking at was a zero-touch deployment. At the minute I'm charged with the whole infrastructure, so it doesn't make much sense that I've got a babysit installation, so I really wanted a zero-touch where I could just launch this and utilize my time for other things. So what we did was then we deployed, say we had the servers, we had SQL Server installed, then we had the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit with WSUS as well, and the SCCM 2007. We deployed it out with a zero-touch build and capture. So we were deploying the image out, creating all the network configurations, the operating system components, and then capturing that back into the WIM image onto the network. And then that was our master image then that we were deploying out to the clients from there.
And was there a reason why you decided to go with like one or the other in terms of prepackaged images versus having a base and then installing applications?
Purely for the image size. As I was saying, we were dealing with Symantec images around about 12 gigabytes. We have reduced that down to about 4 now, and then deploying the packages out from there. And now the multicasting that's in SCCM also helps for that, rather than the unicast approach where we originally had.
Okay, so with Ghost before and with SCCM now, what are some of the big differences between the two?
The big difference really is zero-touch deployment. Even with the Ghost, we still had to go and put in things like computer names that wouldn't join the network at certain times. Where now we do have the zero touch, so once the computers have been imported into the SCCM environment, everything is totally automated. We just create the task sequence, deploy the task sequence, and the computers are online within about 45 minutes, waiting for the users to log back in.
And before, how long would that usually take?
The time was comparable, but the real difference is going down and spending the time. At least I can leave it now and know that in 45 minutes it's going to be completed. I'm not going to come in and there's a sysprep screen waiting for me. You know, put in the administrator password, change the computer name, or it hasn't joined the domain.
What are some of the challenges that you had along the way in this?
The challenges that I personally encountered along the way was the learning curve that came with SCCM 2007. Also the Pixie booting, getting the Pixie boot working right across the network, and how to deal with WIM images with Vista. The total project was somewhere in the region of about 6 weeks from when I started it to completion time, and I had tried a number of different servers. We started off in Windows 2008, 32 and 64-bit. We couldn't get the Pixie boot going properly on that. Then we changed back to Windows 2003, 64-bit. The problem we encountered with that was that SCCM, as a 32-bit application, was slowing the entire machine down. So in the end, the version that we got working the best was 32-bit Windows Server 2003 R2 with SCCM 2007 installed on that. So again, because there was no real template or blueprint or white paper to follow with this, it's really trial and error. So just making sure you had the right match of what we're looking for was one of them. Was certainly getting the Pixie deployment working as well. Then there's other just little nuances which occur with the program. You just got to delve into the help files and the manuals and trail through the log files till you get everything going properly. Mm-hmm. But in the end, we got it going, which was great. You know, I'm very, very pleased with the outcome.
What would you say is the net benefit now versus where you were at before?
Really, the benefit is for total zero-touch deployment. The image size has been reduced, the manageability of the client, even in terms from Vista Service Pack 1, the benefits that it can bring as well, that we have the instant search and integration with Office, just the speed is really now. You know, I think Vista has matured greatly from when it was first released.
And so what are your plans moving forward, like in the future with your environment?
I think the next plans would be to start to integrate Hyper-V into the back-end infrastructure running on Windows Server 2008 Core with the Hyper-V on top, and then we'll be importing the virtual machines with the SCVM, the virtual machine manager, coming into that and moving away from the ESX infrastructure we have. Mm-hmm. Then once that's been completed, probably something would be SoftGrid that we'll be looking at for application virtualization. But again, we'll take those as in a bit of time. Mm-hmm. One of the problems we had with SCCM 2007 was after we extended the schema, I noticed in the log files that we were getting access denied, creating these two child objects underneath the systems management folder. How we got around that was we had to add the computer account in for the Windows deployment server, which you can see here, which is WDS. Once that had been added, we give it the necessary permissions. That cleared those errors up in the events for us and allowed the creation of these child objects then. One of the other problems that we had when we were getting the machines to Pixie boot was that they weren't picking up the task sequence properly. So if we actually look inside the boot images folder here, we have the 64-bit and the 32-bit boot image. One of the things I found very useful was that if we drill down the properties of the boot image, under the Windows P environment, we have this checkbox here which enables command support for testing only. That will, on the client, we can invoke F8, which will bring up the command prompt, and then we can go through and we can look at the log files from there. We can troubleshoot what's going on, whether it's a management point, distribution point, failure is the user password configuration. So during testing, that was very, very useful.
What's going on right now?
Yeah, this is the Pixie boot, so it's contacted the distribution point. It's downloaded the 64-bit boot file. We're now contacting the Windows deployment server. It will receive the Pixie boot file from that, launch into Windows PE, and then the task sequencer will kick off. Then what we'll do is we'll show the F8 here.
Yeah.
And then what we can do is we can press F8 here. The location of the logs you're looking for is in Windows, temp directory, SMSTS log. And inside here we'll have an SMSTS.log file. It's currently in use here, so what you'll see is that it cannot open it. But if the task sequence hadn't kicked off here, we could have opened that file and examined it for what's going on. What we actually see now is we're wiping out the C drive, applying the WIM image to that. It will decompress the WIM image and then run through the task sequences, install the client. Office is included with the image file. And then in about 45 minutes, we'll have a Control-Alt-Delete prompt on the network for the users. The log file that we're looking at here, the smsts.log file inside the Windows temp smsts log directory, that will give us indications of why task sequences aren't running. It could be as a distribution point, it could be a username and password issue, but really you'll find all the information you need inside the smsts.log file.